Okay, so welcome everybody to our June monthly wellness webinar. So just kind of a little introduction about who we are at Wellness Within and kind of the reason why we started to do these webinar series. So Jackie, I might have you just skip ahead to the next one for me. So we are quite a large team now of mental health therapists. We work with individuals, we work with couples, we work with families, we work with children, all ages, promoting overall well-being and empowering all of them to lead fulfilling lives. So the reason why Kyla had initially started these monthly wellness webinars is because, as we know, there's so much information out there that we can very easily access, but we want to make sure that we are giving reliable information, that people have a reliable resource for that kind of information. So that's sort of the goal with these webinars, and to ensure that our community has accessible evidence-based strategies that they can use and refer to. So Jackie, you can skip ahead for me. So this is just a little introduction of the team. So like I said, we are a very large team now. We moved into a new space in the west end of Kingston about a year ago, almost a year ago. It'll be a year in August. So Kyla, who is the clinic owner, and then there's a bunch of us. I'm not going to go over everybody's names, but we've got registered psychotherapists, a nurse psychotherapist, we've got social workers. You can skip ahead to the next one, Jackie. I think these pictures need to be updated. We also have someone who does Reiki here. Caitlin does a lot of the virtual arts therapy. And we also do have, and her picture is not here, but we do have a registered massage therapist who is with us now. And I've heard amazing things about her as well. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Jackie. So Jackie, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but just so our participants are aware, Jackie, she did say she is going to kind of have some prompts throughout the presentation if anybody wants to engage. But if anybody does have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat, and then I'll make sure that they get asked at the end of the presentation if we do still have time. So again, you can put them in the chat. You don't have to talk or ask the questions. I can do that for you. So if there is anything that you are wanting to know about, please just put something in there, and I will make sure that Jackie sees that later. Okay, so Jackie, I'm going to hand it to you, okay?
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Good.
All right. Hi, everyone. So thank you for being here today, whether you are joining from home, maybe at work, maybe you're on the go, or maybe you're watching the recording later. And I'm sure that you're squeezing it in amongst a million different things. So I definitely appreciate it. And welcome to the webinar. So I labeled it today, Fueled by Coffee, plural, and a full calendar. So if you resonate with that, just think about it maybe to yourself, or feel free to say so in the chat. My goal is for you to leave here with a deeper understanding of how your nutrition plays a role in your mental health, and have some simple anchors to go back to support yourself even when you're busy and maybe stress is feeling high. So I'm Jackie. I am a registered holistic nutritionist and a feminine wellness coach. I help ambitious women bring nourishment and self-care back into their busy day so that they can show up fully for all that they do. So as a registered holistic nutritionist, I use a whole body approach to health. So that's focusing on how our physical, mental, and emotional well-being are all interconnected, and then how we can support our body through nutritional and lifestyle practices. So I'm going to be flipping through the slides here, and bear with me. I kind of have to jump around a little bit. So we're going to start out with a little fun disclaimer. So before we get started, please remember that the entire contents of my presentation are based upon opinions as a registered holistic nutritionist with D&D Wellness Co. I'm not a dietitian, a physician, pharmacist, a therapist, or other licensed healthcare professional, and this isn't meant to diagnose, treat, or replace the care of your healthcare team. So always consult with your primary care provider before making big changes to your health routine. So hopefully that sounds good for everyone. Okay, so what we're going to touch on today. We're going to start actually with a short breathing practice to help us get grounded and a little bit more present. I love starting all of my webinars this way because it's kind of a little gift of some you time, because as much as I'm sure we all know that we're supposed to take some time to slow down, we don't always schedule it in. So surprise, you scheduled it in without even knowing it. And then we'll start by talking about some common nutritional habits of busy people and what sorts of nutritional gaps that can lead to that. Then we'll learn about the connection between nutrition and mental health. And finally, I'll give you some simple ways to support your mental health through nutrition that you can start implementing right away, even before your next grocery trip. So again, just some quick housekeeping to keep things running smoothly. Definitely bear with me in terms of jumping to the chat back and forth and kind of seeing things that are going on. But just know that you're absolutely welcome in this space exactly as you are. As Kelsey mentioned, this will be recorded, so you are welcome to turn your camera off, but you're also welcome to turn it on. Sometimes it can help feel a little bit more connected in the space when we're doing things virtually. I'm going to be asking some questions and maybe prompting you along the way, so feel free to use the chat throughout to interact and engage, and I'll try my best to kind of keep my eyes on it. For any major questions, feel free to put those in the chat as you go, or otherwise leave them until the end so I don't miss them, and then we'll circle back. And then lastly, of course, if you are driving or you're somewhere doing something that requires your full attention for your safety or the safety of other people, please feel free to just tune me out when needed, and also just refrain from closing your eyes when I offer that suggestion. So let's begin by arriving. So I'm going to guide you through a gentle breathing practice just to help bring some presence to your body and invite in some relaxation. I will guide us through 9 rounds, and it'll only take a few minutes, but you're welcome to follow along. If breathing practices are new for you, just note that it might feel a little bit unusual or unexpected. Some people might notice some tingling, some lightheadedness, and know that this is normal, but if at any point that you wish, you can return your breathing back to normal if you are uncomfortable, and just continue to relax until we're finished. So you can start by gently closing your eyes or softening your gaze downward if it's safe for you to do so. Sitting up tall, but not too rigid, just to create some space in your diaphragm, but ensuring that you're comfortable. You can place your hands in your lap or on your belly, or even rest them on your knees. And just allow the last of this current breath to escape through your lips before taking your next deep breath in through your nose. Drive this breath deep into your belly, allowing it to fully expand, and then exhaling slowly through pursed lips. And again, we'll inhale through our nose, expanding the belly, and maybe just noticing if your chest is rising, and see if you can direct that breath lower. And exhaling through the lips. And the last time, inhaling into the pit of the belly, and exhaling through the lips, squeezing any last bit of air out at the bottom. Next, we're going to breathe deep in through the nose, expanding into the belly. And when you reach the top, you're going to inhale a little bit more to expand through the ribs. Pausing at the top for a brief second before exhaling in reverse, contracting the ribs, and then contracting the belly. And again, deep inhale through the nose, expanding the belly, expanding the ribs, and then we'll exhale through the ribs and exhale through the belly. And last round, we're going to inhale through the nose, expanding the belly, expanding the ribs, and exhaling through the ribs, and exhaling through the belly. This last cycle of 3, we're going to do a nice deep inhale into the pit of the belly, expanding fully, expanding the ribs, and then sipping in that last little bit of air to expand in our chest. We're going to exhale in reverse, exhaling through the chest, through the ribs, and through the belly. And again, inhaling through the nose, expand the belly, expand the ribs, expand the chest. Just notice if you're holding any tension in your face that you can let go of. Now we're going to exhale through the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Last full round. Inhale, expand the belly fully, expand the ribs, and expand the chest. Exhale through the chest, through the ribs, and through the belly. You can return your breathing back to a normal pace for you. And whenever you're ready, you're welcome to open your eyes and gently return back. Okay. So, if your friend called you right now and asked how you've been doing, how many of you would say, "Oh, I've been busy"? You can think about this for yourself, or you can feel free to drop you in the chat. And if your best friend or your mom called you and asked how you've been doing, how many of you would say, "Oh, I've been busy and I've been stressed"? So this is incredibly common with the way that our society operates here, and that's another webinar for another time. But my point is that you're far from alone if this is how you're feeling. So, as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about nutrition and mental health. But I want to clarify what I mean by mental health when I'm talking about it today, because if you're anything like me, I used to think that mental health was just about mental illness. But everyone has mental health, just as everyone has physical health, and it exists on a very dynamic continuum. So mental health encompasses your overall psychological, emotional, and social well-being. You can have poor mental health without a diagnosed illness, just as you can have an excellent mental health while actively managing mental illness. So mental health is essential to overall health and quality of life. So just keep that in mind today. I am not just talking about nutrition for mental health in terms of mental illness, but the mental health that we all have. So the reason that this webinar is able to give some more targeted information about nutrition towards busy people is that busy people tend to have a handful of similar nutritional habits. So let's take a look at some of these common behaviors and characteristics. So first, distracted eating. Busy people are often eating meals while they're working, on the go, while watching TV, scrolling on their phone, sometimes driving. Busy people love to try and multitask. So bonus points for being vulnerable in the chat and sharing if you resonate with any of these. Next is skipping meals. So not necessarily on purpose, but out of convenience. Busy mornings have no time for breakfast. Maybe there's too much going on and lunch just doesn't happen. Or sometimes it is intentional. Busy people that don't have time to make it to the gym may feel that skipping lunch or dinner is a good way to counteract a sedentary lifestyle. So emotional eating is another one. Being busy is stressful, as we've clarified. So getting sugar or dopamine rush feels a lot better than dealing with that stress sometimes. But being busy also has its rewards, and what better way to celebrate them than with more food that keeps us buzzing high? A reminder that these things are common and they aren't always the absolute worst thing that you can do here and there, but they also do add up and they're not a good long-term strategy for overall health. So next, looking at high consumption of refined carbs and sugars, a reliance on caffeine and convenience foods. So these are all part of what we call the SAD diet, Standard North American Diet. So highly processed foods full of refined sugars and carbohydrates, chemicals, synthetic preservatives, hormones, antibiotics, food coloring, all known to alter our mood. Most of it is fake food, with very little of it actually coming from farms or nature. We call it the SAD diet because it does not provide the nutrients our brain and body need to function well. There's several reasons that people follow the SAD diet. Sometimes it's living in poverty or an injury-related economic loss that limits access to high-quality nutritious food. Some people simply don't know what good nutrition is and are more vulnerable to advertisements or medical myths. People may struggle with self-care, leading to poor nutrition, or they've been hospitalized for prolonged periods of time and are being served poor quality food. Some people struggle with addictions and substances, resulting in not eating well or not eating enough. Many medications, commercial drugs, and alcohol also deplete important nutrients needed for the body. So there's a number of reasons for this, but today I'm hoping to help you with just one of those, and that's the education piece. So because of this way of eating, our body responds. It responds with inflammation, blood sugar imbalance, and gut microbiome imbalance. And then you pair all of that with stress, food allergies, perimenopause, menopause, autoimmune disorders, and you've got nutrient gaps that lead to poor mental health. Systemic inflammation can lead to depression. Omega-3 imbalance can contribute to mood disorders, anxiety. Deficiency in magnesium or vitamin D can lead to depression and anxiety. Imbalance in B vitamins can contribute, et cetera, et cetera. So this way of eating that I mentioned before can lead to these results. And the good thing is that we can change the way that we eat. So I want to talk a little bit more about the connection between nutrition and mental health. And I'll start by emphasizing that nutrition is just one way of supporting your mental health. As a holistic practitioner, I always encourage supporting your health in a variety of ways. So this can be through talk therapy, creativity, exercise, mindfulness, spirituality, community, medications, and so many more. So nutrition is just one way, and it can be incredibly powerful. So this is going to get a little bit nerdy for the next few slides, so please just bear with me. I tried to keep it as clear as I could because I think it's important for you to have a bit of an idea of what exactly is going on in your body. So the enteric nervous system, you may have heard it called the second brain, lives in the gut. 100 million nerve cells connecting the gut to the brain and back again all reside there. So this second brain communicates with our first brain, sending messages to our central nervous system. It also supports the good bacteria that helps regulate brain function. It controls the digestive system, like the breakdown and absorption of foods, elimination of wastes, and the contractions that move the food along the digestive tract. So it takes food particles and transforms them into little chemical messengers called neurotransmitters that support our emotional and cognitive life. Nutrient deficiencies can also impact the central nervous system, resulting in poor neurotransmitter production and leading to cognitive and mood issues. You heard me talk about neurotransmitters. So a significant number of these neurotransmitters are produced in the gut. So why do we want sufficient, healthy neurotransmitters? Because they impact so much. They impact our mood, our sleep, concentration, weight, cravings, addictions, and when they're out of balance, can contribute to depression, anxiety, pain, insomnia, etc. So because of this gut-brain connection, we want to be aware of the impacts of inflammation, blood sugar imbalance, and dysbiosis. So we'll start with inflammation. Inflammation that occurs from injury is often a lot easier to see. You're familiar with redness, swelling, pain, and this is the body's natural immune response helping us heal. Similar inflammation also occurs systemically through the body, but it's mostly invisible. Chronic low-level inflammation contributes to poor mental health. So if this response within the body is chronic, immune cells continue to excrete proteins called cytokines that contribute to depression and the breakdown of nerve cells. People who experience major depression have increased levels of inflammatory cytokines that in turn negatively affect neurotransmitter function. And as we've decided, neurotransmitter function is very important. So there's a list of things here that can contribute to systemic inflammation. And several of these we've touched on as being traits of the busy person. So stress, poor quality foods, toxin exposure, vitamin D deficiency, and gut permeability, which is also a result of the SAD diet. So next, let's look at blood sugar imbalance. Mood swings follow blood sugar swings. So high or low blood glucose levels can affect mental functioning, but it's often the low that hits the hardest. So people under chronic stress are more vulnerable to blood sugar swings because their cortisol is low due to something called adrenal fatigue. And cortisol is responsible for raising blood sugar levels back up. So skipping meals or going too long between eating can impact blood sugar negatively, as well as not building balanced meals and snacks to cushion the blood sugar spikes and crashes. And as you can see, low blood sugar can lead to a plethora of poor mental health symptoms. Okay, lastly, I'll talk about dysbiosis. So dysbiosis is an imbalance of the beneficial and harmful bacteria in the digestive tract. The gut is very resilient, but when the imbalance becomes too intense, the harmful bacteria takes over and it can be incredibly damaging to the digestive system, the brain, and our mental health. So this is important because healthy bacteria are essential for stress regulation and support neurotransmitters like GABA that help soothe anxiety. Beneficial bacteria also help with the production and absorption of several vitamins and minerals and much more. So dysbiosis can also lead to more inflammation and intestinal permeability, which is more commonly known as leaky gut, something you may have heard of. So this is essentially when things that aren't supposed to enter the bloodstream do. And then this contributes to more inflammation and other issues like allergies and autoimmune disorders. So hopefully you can see kind of the cycle here. A lot of it builds on itself. Dysbiosis can occur from a diet high in ultra-processed foods, refined carbohydrates, exposure to pesticides, mold, fungus, or other toxic chemicals, and of course, stress. Stress will come up a lot here, and it just kind of shows the importance of practicing stress management. Okay, so what can we do about all this, especially as a busy person? We want to decrease inflammation, we want to balance blood sugar, and we want to support the gut microbiome. And we're going to do that by focusing on three things. How, what, and when are you eating? So this is where we get back into the practical stuff. So if you kind of zoned out during the nerdy stuff before, now is the time to get back into it. So let's start with how. So digestion happens in a state of relaxation. Stress can impact digestive muscles, like the contractions that move the food along through your digestive system. It can impact the secretion of digestive enzymes that help to break food down, and stomach acid levels, again, helping break food down and absorb nutrients, and redirects blood flow away from the digestive organs and instead floods the extremities and our muscles. So it can also cause nausea, diarrhea, constipation, as well as exacerbate any symptoms that you may already have as a result from any digestive disorders. So some simple things that you can start with today would be sitting down for meals, eliminating distractions. So moving away from your desk, putting away your phone, taking some deep breaths before eating. So the breathing practice that we started with is a great tool to use. You can even slow it down and break it down into just 3 breaths. Anything is better. Okay. Practicing gratitude for the food that you're eating and all that allowed it to get from the earth to you right now. Being mindful, noticing real flavors and textures and smells of your food can all help with relaxation. And lastly, please, please chew your food thoroughly. This will help your digestive system more than you can imagine. So ideally chewing to a paste-like consistency, this will make a big impact. Slowing down while eating will have a great impact on your mental health as a whole. So, what you're eating. Start with prioritizing real whole foods as much as possible. The more the better, but what is just 1% better than what you chose yesterday? We want to build our meals with protein, carbohydrates, and healthy fats and color. So protein like pastured chicken, grass-fed beef, wild fish, eggs, dairy helps support neurotransmitters and repair. Fiber-rich carbohydrates like quinoa, lentils, beans, rice, oats. They give us energy and help us feed the good bacteria in our gut. Healthy fats like avocado, fish, nuts, seeds, olives help fuel our brain and help us absorb nutrients and leave us feeling full and satisfied. Colorful vegetables and fruits, greens, reds, oranges, yellows, purples, all that variety give us the micronutrients to support our body systems. So eating a wide variety ensures that we're getting a variety of nutrients. Pairing our food like this also helps support blood sugar balance. And lastly, pre and probiotic foods to support the microbiome. So prebiotics help to feed the good bacteria. So that's like onion, garlic, artichoke, leeks, asparagus, bananas, chia, and probiotics, the live organisms that live in our gut to help support our mental health. These can be consumed through fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, kombucha, etc. Okay. And when you are eating, I highly recommend starting your day with breakfast within the first 60 to 90 minutes of waking. And yes, that's also before coffee. This supports your circadian rhythm, as well as getting your metabolism started for the day. Coffee on an empty stomach isn't often supportive for our mental health, especially if it's filled with cream and sugar. So, moving things around to have breakfast first and reducing or eliminating coffee after noon can have a positive impact. Also, planning to have a snack or a meal every 2 to 4 hours to support blood sugar balance. Consistent meals, having them at consistent times each day can help our body really get into a rhythm because our body really likes that. So, sticking to a schedule can be beneficial. So, something important that I want to say before we wrap it up is that each person is biochemically unique and has their own nutritional needs. So, what we went through today is just touching the surface. These tools and recommendations are generally helpful for most people. Remember the disclaimer at the beginning, but it can be incredibly helpful to work one on one with a practitioner, support your body, your lifestyle, and your needs because they are unique to you. So, after looking at how we eat, what we eat, and when we eat, I would love to hear from you in the chat if you have any thoughts on maybe one small shift that you feel inspired to try this week.
I'll start. If anybody else wants to add into the chat, please feel free to type that in. But I think just eliminating the distractions for me, taking some deep breaths before, those feel like very doable things, I guess, because I find sometimes this can feel very overwhelming,
Mhm.
right? It seems like there's so many things that we need to change or do better.
Yes.
I like those kind of things. And that's definitely something, and like eating slower. I think having a child, like, you're just scarfing things down.
Mhm.
But so I think those kind of things I feel like are very manageable that I could just, like you said, start today. So that's for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that.
the chat, we've got eating, sitting down, chewing food, breakfast before coffee. I find that's a tough one.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why like my approach to this practice as well, working with clients, my goal is always longevity. I very much am a believer in long-term results. I know that there's a lot of different things that we hear out there, and especially like there may be more women on that kind of tune into this call, but hearing all the noise of the interweb about things that you can do to make these changes, within 3 weeks or within a week. And I'm a big believer that small habits that you feel, 90% confident in changing, that's where we want you to be. We want you to feel confident. So break that goal down as tiny as possible. And if it's, taking 3 breaths before your meal, and that's what you focus on for a couple months, that will have a huge impact. So I definitely think those are all great, great choices. And that's also why I put the, how we eat in there is because if, grocery shopping, if you're like, I don't even want to tackle that right now. I don't even want to think about changing my grocery list and all of that stuff. This is stuff that, you can walk away from the call today. If you haven't had your lunch yet, you can think, oh, what is one small thing that I can do right now, despite what I'm eating, just to make my digestion a little bit easier on me.
Yes, totally. I appreciate all those very tangible options that you gave for us today.
Perfect.
I have a question. So intermittent fasting, not good. I'm assuming.
So,
What's your opinion
so,
on that? I'm so curious
so
to hear about it. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but you just hear
that's
about
okay.
it so often, right? Is like
Mhm.
this wonderful thing.
Yes.
So yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of different feedback out there, and I'll kind of also reiterate something that I mentioned in that everyone's body is different. Everyone will react differently to things. However, information that has been mentioned about intermittent fasting, and I say more longer fasts, is primarily tested on a man's body, which is quite different than ours as women. So what people are finding the most beneficial for women is actually focusing on like that 12 to maybe 16-hour fast. And the best time to do that is just overnight. So not pushing yourself into a 6 or 8 or 10 hour eating window, but just kind of focusing on the time between your last meal and your first meal. Usually overnight is enough to get you into autophagy and all of those things. So for your cell repair, that's the biggest focus. So I would say anyone that's curious about it, I would say start there. Maybe it's 12 hours. Maybe if you have, your dinner at, I don't know what time people eat dinner now, like 7 or 6:30, then trying to see about, having your breakfast 12 hours after that, 6:30 in the morning or 7 in the morning. But that is generally sufficient. Now, fasting longer than that can have benefits for people with certain conditions. And that would be definitely that would be individual.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I have heard that too, that yeah, a lot of the research and studies done around it have been sort of predominantly on men and not really on women and how that
hmm
affects us. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, sorry, I say one more thing with that too. Like
Yeah,
there are people that, fast for more religious reasons as well that are lengthened. And so that's why I like to emphasize like it depends who you're working with. It depends very much on like multiple factors.
right. That makes sense. Okay, awesome. Okay, so nothing else is coming up in the chat for now. So I don't think we have any other questions. So I don't know if you have any other slides, Jackie, or anything else that you want to kind of end with, but
Not too much. No, that's really it. I definitely fired through that pretty fast, but
okay.
I have here, hopefully you can see it now, just a slide at the end with contact information for me. So I do operate more on social media more actively than others, but I also have an email address there. So of course, if anyone does have any further questions or comments, feel free to contact me in whatever way works best for you. I'd be happy to chat. Always love, looking into new scenarios and sharing with you what I know.
Okay, perfect. That's great. And yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with Jackie, feel free to reach out to us as well at Wellness Within and we can connect you. Um, that's great. So Jackie, I might have you go. Do you have another slide or no? I can't remember.
Yes, there's the
Okay,
other ones for you.
for me, yes. Okay, perfect.
Sorry, I could have done that with
No,
the
that's
email.
okay. Oh, so actually, yeah, no, that's okay.
I think there's one more.
So yes,
Oh, this one.
no, yes, that's perfect. Thank you. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate you, Jackie, taking the time to provide us with some information. It's such a valuable topic, and so I love it. I'm super glad that you agreed to do this with us. So like I said, if you want to reach out to Jackie, feel free to do so with her personal information, but you can also contact us to get connected with her as well. And also, if anybody's interested in working with us at Wellness Within, please feel free to reach out. You can book a free consult with any of us. Feel free to always hop on our monthly wellness webinar series. So we do try to offer them once a month, usually the third Thursday of every month at noon. That is a little bit subject to change depending on everyone's availability. But we're trying to kind of keep that a little bit consistent if we can. We also have a number of different workshops and group events or anything like that. So always check our website to see what is happening here at Wellness Within. Um, so that's great. Okay. Thank you guys. So
Amazing.
thank you again, Jackie. Anything else you need to add before we leave or?
No, that's all. Thank you so much for having me. That was great.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording now. Oops.